Good morning, STrEAM Academy. It is Wednesday, October 14th, and welcome to Morning Coffee. I'm your host, Principal Mokelke. Thank you, everyone who's joining us on our Zoom and on YouTube and watching later, if that's what you do. Good morning, Mrs. Beyondage. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Principal Mokelke. I am great.
Awesome. And we have two APC members and a staff member with us, and more people will be joining us. We always have to sort of slow play the start because
two staff members.
Let people join us. Now we have two staff members. All right. Good morning, Ms. Yip, the chair of our APC on the eve of our APC, or the day of our APC meeting. How are you today?
I'm not awake yet. The
That's
coffee's brewing though.
That's what morning coffee is for, right?
Yep. Truly.
We'll talk a little bit about the APC meeting today and preview that exciting event.
Are you getting a lot of kids with Inktober?
We are. I think it's really hard to track, but I think we've got quite a few of our kids doing Inktober. Miss Kotelman is with us. Good morning, Miss Kotelman. I know Miss Kotelman and Miss Gable are some of our teachers that are including Inktober. Are you getting students doing Inktober in your classes, Miss Kotelman?
Some of them, yes. We assigned it as a part of a creativity lesson, so we'll see how many we get.
Awesome. Yeah, Inktober has been fun. It's been hard. It's hard to keep up with. So I'm going to have to do another big catch up on Inktober and post a bunch more pictures. Morning to parents that are able to jump in and join us. We're glad with us. Good morning, Miss Gatlin.
Morning.
Glad to have you with us today for morning coffee. I just want to share that Anchorage STrEAM Academy empowers students to be involved learners, critical thinkers, and engaged citizens who are inspired by the natural world. That is our mission, and it's a beautiful one. I love it. So thank you. Does anyone have something good to share? Inktober has been a lot of fun for a lot of us. I've enjoyed the drawings. Ms. Kotelman is incredible. She's got some amazing drawings she's been sharing with us. Mrs. Beyondage surprised us with her acumen. Mrs. Yip is a wonderful artist. So Inktober is definitely a good thing. For those of you who don't know what Inktober is, it is draw an ink drawing every day in October, but you can also do other mediums if you want. They give lots of leeway. There's basically no rules. It is ink themed, although people do a lot of other things. And they give you a different word or themed word. Miss Kotelman's showing us that's her drawing for slippery. So they give you a different word like slippery, and you draw it. So that's kind of cool. We have a sponsor, Blaine's in Anchorage, has sponsored us, and they put together a really cool drawing kit with a big drawing pad, ink, pens and markers, drawing tools, really nice drawing kit. And we're going to do a drawing. I'm going to somehow, probably using the hashtag Mrs. Beyondage came up with, I'm going to track number of entries and then do a drawing for our community. And so each entry that I can somehow track or give credit to for a STrEAM community member will go for one raffle ticket. So if you do all 31, you get 31 chances. And we're gonna do a drawing and give away the prize from Blaine's, and maybe we'll invite, I think we talked about doing that possibly on November 4th. So we'll invite Blaine's to join us for that. If we're ready for that, that'll be pretty neat. Let's see what's on our agenda today. important updates and items. My understanding is last night our 501c3 team met, and we have some of the members of the 501c3, our STrEAM's nonprofit arm, here with us, and they were able to sign us up for Amazon Smile, which is really exciting. So Mrs. Beyondich or anyone else, Mrs. Mickelson, anybody else, anyone want to tell us about Amazon Smile and what's happening in the 501c3 world?
Sorry, couldn't.
Lots of people just jumped right in there, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, let Ms. Mickelson go ahead.
I couldn't find my mouse. I'm sorry. Yes. So the Mrs. Beyondich worked really hard to get the Amazon Smile all set up. So if you go to the Amazon Smile website and order through there, not through the regular Amazon place, a portion of your total comes to the 501c3 that we can put towards projects for the year for STrEAM Academy. So we're pretty excited about that. We're also getting several other avenues set up so that we can begin to create a hefty balance to support STrEAM projects throughout the school year. So we're really excited in being able to do that. Our goal is to raise $20,000 between now and December 31st. So we'll see if that happens.
That is pretty incredible. That's awesome. Very exciting. That's a lofty and a good goal we're excited about, and Amazon Smile. So let's start getting the word out. Everyone uses Amazon, and it's got so much traffic. If we can get folks to use Amazon Smile and pick STrEAM Academy, it would go a long way. Awesome. What else do we have on the agenda and on the docket for today? We'll talk about upcoming events and things that are happening. We're going to take a little sneak peek into what conferences look like this year. Ms. Kotelman has done some work for us around designing our conference format. It's going to be different this year than in years past. And that's a district-wide format that they're having us follow, which fits with our current learning mode. I want to talk a little bit about ALEKS Math and keep that torch lit. That's our way our students can continue to work in math all year long, regardless of what classes they're scheduled in. We'll have a chance if Mrs. Smith is able to. I see Ms. Smith's with us. Good morning. We can check in on how Canvas might look, switching over to the second quarter. We could check in with Ms. Bonertz and Ms. Gatlin. And that's what the agenda looks like today. So upcoming important events and dates. Today, big important event today, our monthly APC. The APC is the Academic Policy Committee. It's the board that oversees charter schools in Anchorage. That's what Anchorage School District calls them. So it's really our school's school board. And Ms. Yip is the chair of our APC. She's here with us. And Mrs. Beyondich sits on the APC, and Ms. Mickelson sits on the APC. So tonight we have our meeting at 5:30, and that streams on the same YouTube channel. And we meet on Zoom. Board members and staff meet on Zoom. We stream it on YouTube. So join us. Talk a little bit more about that in a bit. No school this Friday and next Friday. Those are the big things to remember. So this Friday is the official last day of the quarter. This Friday the 16th is the last day of first quarter, and it is a grading day. It's a day for teachers to spend the day grading and planning and putting in all that work that they put in to wrap up final grades and launch the second quarter. So no school on Friday. I would suggest treating it at least in part like an e-learning day, and having students work on ALEKS and iReady and read and also, of course, get outside, especially while we still have some fall weather. Let's see. So the 20th will be the day that first quarter grades will be available in Q. You'll be able to see first quarter grades. Remember, we don't do the old-fashioned send home report cards anymore, to be paperless and environmentally friendly. So you look at those grades on Q. Zoom conferences next week. So we'll talk about conferences but they will happen on the evening next Thursday, and we'll talk about that. And then no school again on Friday the 23rd. So no school the next 2 Fridays. All right. So quick peek into conferences. Ms. Kotelman, do you want to jump in, or do you want me to give sort of an overview? How would you like to proceed?
I got this. So I'm gonna, if you could allow me to do the thing so I can share some stuff.
Right.
I'm gonna start by saying that usually with SLC, we train kids to pick out artifacts and build a portfolio of work from their quarter or their semester to present to their parents. It was a little bit more challenging to do that. And thanks, Ms. Beyondich, for that clarification. It was a little bit more challenging to do that with the fact that we were trying to fit a semester's worth of work into a quarter already. And there just wasn't really a lot of space to do it in a way that would set students up for success. So the staff and I decided that we were going to change it up a little bit and allow students to present a reflection and a goal setting document to their parents for student-led conferences instead. So that way they can reflect big picture and start to set manageable goals for themselves. So yesterday in my mission vision, we actually had the chance to do some lessons on reflective writing and thinking. I know that this happens a lot when you tell kids to reflect on your experience, reflect on this picture, reflect on this idea or this quote. And they're like, I don't know what to write. I'm like, because it's supposed to happen in your brain. You have to do some brain work before you can do the writing work. So we taught this lesson on reflective thinking, and we practiced reflective thinking and talked about how it's one of those things that's really meaningful and purposeful outside of school. We had students share times where they learned how to reflect so they could be better at hockey or be a better friend. And then we practiced and we looked at some examples of good reflections and not so great reflections, and then we tried it. And so what you'll be seeing students present is a document that looks like this. And they started slides 3, 4, and 5 with a reflection this quarter. And if they haven't already, they'll probably do it on Thursday. And so they get to rate themselves and be prepared to explain themselves. They get to discuss work they're proud of and things that challenge them. And then they get to give themselves, their past selves, some advice. And I have some examples. So here's one that a 6th grader wrote. I would give my back in time self some advice on ways to think, but not tell her answers to quizzes at all. You may wonder why, and that's because I feel good, I'm healthy and strong, and I don't want my back in time self not to feel this good. So this student overcame a lot of stress this quarter, had a couple of breakdown moments and then learned how to overcome them. Here's another student. I'm very proud of my 5-paragraph essay. I'm proud of this because I worked very hard. And I did lots of research and writing. I reflected on it to make it better. I think I did a very good job on my essay. Here's another one. So I got help from his mom. Learning how to ask for help was a big challenge for a lot of kids this quarter. So, so this is what we did on the reflection piece. For the goal setting piece, students are going to take down some data about just information about their new classes. So some details on how to get in touch with their teachers, sort of a mini induction activities to get in touch, check their grades, and just sort of figure out where they can find feedback and do some anticipatory set stuff. And then they get to pick a main goal. And the teachers are going to help them make this specific and tailored to the reflection that they did in the previous quarter. They're going to explain why it's important and their key strengths and address any obstacles and make a plan to respond. And then they're going to pick their first 3 steps toward establishing this goal. And the idea is for staff to continue checking in with these throughout the quarter. Maybe not in a formal way, but in a way that's like, I know who you are and I know what you're working on. How is it going? So that's just a quick, I don't know how, hopefully that was like less than 5 minutes, but just a quick little rundown on how SLC student conferences will go. They'll be presenting these to you. They should be ready by Thursday evening next week. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Kotelman. That was great. So we are getting the question, when is my conference and how will that be scheduled? And the answer is embedded in Ms. Kotelman's presentation. We aren't necessarily doing conferences for first quarters to review student progress and grades. If you desire a conference, if you really feel like you need to talk with teachers about the first quarter, of course you can contact those teachers and schedule that time with them. That'll be by parent request. So mainly what our conferences will look like is that back to school format on Thursday, where we'll have a regular school Zoom day, and students will be, or parents will be invited to Zoom sessions with the new second quarter cohort teachers. So if your child had math and science with Miss Gable and Miss Staker in 6th grade, for first quarter, they are switching to language arts and social studies along with our mission vision class with Miss Kotelman and Miss Gable this quarter. So you'll be introduced to them and have a chance to ask questions and hear all about those second quarter classes. Anything else, any questions or anything else that anyone would like to add about conferences and this format? It's new, it's different. It is the direction from the school district, and we elected, instead of trying to do something different, just to follow the district's lead and to try it this way. So any thoughts or questions out there?
I have a quick note. That these, for a lot of parents transitioning from an elementary school to a middle school, the student-led conferences can be a little bit jarring just because they're used to more of a parent-teacher conference structure. I know some elementary schools do allow students to practice SLC before they come to middle school. So I encourage you as a parent to just try and listen to what your child has and ask like questions. If they are just reading a slide to you and not really talking to you, encourage that reflective thinking and see if they can add a little bit more detail to what they're telling you about their learning, because that is really going to help them own their learning and be an involved learner.
Awesome, thanks. So we have this great format that Ms. Kotelman has set up for students to reflect and to be able to present and to share with you what they've learned and their growth, and take that ownership and take that lead. And we really pride ourselves, and we really push that at STrEAM Academy to have students own and lead their learning. It's an important skill overall for students and for humans to develop. So we don't believe in spoon feeding and marching along. We really believe in empowering students and watching them, teaching them to take over. And project-based learning, one of the elements of project-based learning, the PBL model through PBL Works, is student voice and choice. So in our PBL training, one of the 7 elements, right, Ms. Gatlin?
Technically 8.
8 elements. I was close, sorry. One of the 8 elements of the PBL Works model is student voice and choice. And we talk a lot about how do you give students that voice and choice in their project, because that leads to authenticity, that leads to that ownership that Ms. Kotelman is talking about. It leads to the students really sort of taking control and taking ownership of their learning. And so it all fits together in the grand scheme of STrEAM. All right, that's what we have about on conferences. I'm sure there'll be more questions. I have emails in my inbox I need to respond to. I probably will send another parent update, just sort of going over this again. That's the format we're trying out. So The quarter is pretty close to over. Tomorrow is the last school day of the first quarter, and final assignments and assessments were all due already. So I don't think anyone's doing any new work. And that we are, we're also working with the lagging grade reporting in Q and in Canvas, and Ms. Smith might be able to tell us a little bit more about that. So we really had to have all of our final assignments and makeups and anything else that we were doing. We really had to have that all done by, I believe, Tuesday was the last day. Is that right, Mrs. Smith? She said yes.
Sorry, repeat.
No, you're okay. I'm just cold calling, putting you on the spot. Tell us a little bit about how grades are working for the end of the quarter between Canvas and Q. And I believe that you had told me we needed to have everything done by Tuesday in order for that to sync up in time for grades to report. Is that correct?
Yes, just as a abundance of caution, we asked teachers to make a due date no later than yesterday, Tuesday, so that things would sync this first time between Canvas and Q, that's Parent Connect or Student Connection, properly. Some teachers are manually inputting grades to make that process faster. And then some teachers, it doesn't always take 3 days for it to sync. In most cases, it takes 24 hours or less, but we're just making sure with the 3 days. Yep. So we have an official due date of Tuesday, yesterday, everything being due, so that teachers can double check. And so we've instructed students that they should be working on ALEKS and iReady, especially for the subjects they're moving into next week. Like my students didn't have math. So I was like, you guys have to spend several, meaningful minutes on ALEKS Math so that you are ready for Monday. Is that everything you asked?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. And again, I want our community to know that in July, I asked Ms. Smith, "Can you be our Canvas expert?" Because at the time I decided we needed to adopt Canvas and be in line with the school district, just because of the sheer amount of resources and professional development and structural pieces that the school district was putting behind Canvas. We hadn't adopted it last spring. We stuck with Google Classroom. It was the right move because our teachers were already familiar with, and we had already had a school-wide requirement that our staff use Google Classroom so that we can sort of reinforce our learning online as well as in person. And so students, staff, parents were already familiar. So we stuck with Google Classroom last spring when we closed down, and it worked. But we really felt that we needed to adopt Canvas going forward. And so I called Mrs. Smith on her summer break, enjoying time with her children and doing all the fun things that people do with a little time off in the summer, and said, "Hey, I need you to be our Canvas expert and to learn everything there is to know about this new Canvas platform, lead the way for our staff." And it's pretty amazing that I can make that call to a staff member at our school, as not all schools work that way. But I know that I know that I have that capacity with our staff because of their investment. And it's pretty cool that Mrs. Smith didn't hesitate, and she jumped right in and started spending her summer learning and mastering Canvas, and put a lot of guidelines and documents together, and shared, has been constantly sharing with our staff and building them up. So I just don't ever want to miss the opportunity to recognize the extra work our staff do. Thank you, Ms. Smith. So lots of things are bouncing around my head as we talk that to just continue to talk about. But I want to spend a minute and talk about ALEKS. So from the beginning of the year, we decided to follow the district's cohort model of only 3 classes, which I agree with. Not everyone was thrilled about that, but the issue really was that if students have 6 or 7 classes online and teachers have to teach 6 classes online, that's overwhelming. That's a lot. And it was one of the biggest concerns students had last spring, that parents had last spring. And so I really agreed with the district's model of, we'll take it 1 quarter at a time. We'll do So we'll do 2 core classes, and then our third class is our projects mission and vision class. And we call it mission vision class because I wanted to give our teachers a lot of autonomy and a lot of leeway. I didn't want to pigeonhole them into a specific class and call it an elective or call it something too specific. I wanted our teachers to have the autonomy to do what's in our mission and vision. And so we talk about those 3 interlocking circles. You've seen the graphic, right? Those 3 things that our teachers know and they own and they live are project-based learning, experiential, outdoor and experiential education, and STEM. And I wanted them to have, and also incorporating SE, social emotional learning, and all of the other, human elements. I wanted them to have that autonomy, and it's worked really well. They've done really cool and creative things with these mission and vision classes. So essentially for a quarter, students have 2 core classes, and then they have the mission and vision class. They have those 3 classes. The issue I saw with that right away that concerned me as an educator, as our leader, as a STEM school, as a principal of a STEM school, is that meant our students would not be enrolled in a math class for 2 out of the 4 quarters. And so I believe that math, of all the subjects, math is one that really needs a continual progression, especially through middle school and high school. It really needs, like reading, it needs to be something that you do regularly and continuously and constantly, that you're constantly building and improving and growing, both as a reader and in math. And so our response to that concern is a program we've always used at STrEAM, actually, that most of our students have always used, called ALEKS. So ALEKS is an online math curriculum, and it's very different from iReady. We still get a lot of questions. Well, what about iReady? What about ALEKS? They're 2 completely different things. ALEKS is a grade level math curriculum. It is robust. It's used nationwide. It's Common Core aligned. And we have quality checked this in the past by giving students who complete a course on ALEKS the ASD district final exam, and they pass it with flying colors. So what that tells me, I had a student last year who finished geometry on ALEKS, almost exclusively on ALEKS, and we gave her smart cookies. She's over at East High now, thriving in math classes. Gave her the ASD geometry high school final. This is a middle schooler who did this class online. She passed it well above 80%. Couple of concepts she had trouble with. Mr. B reviewed them with her, came back, passed it better than 90%. So ALEKS is and can be a full, complete, robust math curriculum. So all of our students, except a few that are working on math with Ms. Kreisha, I'd say 90 to 95% of our students have an ALEKS account. They have a grade level math class. And what ALEKS also allows us to do is, for a really small school, we don't have enough teachers to do 6th, 7th, 8th grade math and algebra, pre-algebra, geometry. We can't do that. We don't have the capacity. We're too small. So what ALEKS allows us to do is, within 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, we can differentiate for those students that Ms. Staker has. Ms. Staker has almost 20 students. This is so exciting. Like a third of the 6th grade is pre-algebra ready. And so we're moving a third 6th graders. Ms. Bonertz is moving a third of our 6th graders into a pre-algebra track because they've shown they're pre-algebra ready. And so what we can do is immediately switch them from Math 6 to pre-algebra in ALEKS, and they begin working through pre-algebra skills. Same goes with algebra. We have our 7th and our 8th grade class. We have 7th and 8th graders who are in algebra. And so within those 7th and 8th grade cohorts, you have 7th grade math and you have students working on algebra. And then we have 8th graders who, especially if they've been with us for 3 years, our goal is to do pre-algebra, algebra, and then in 8th grade, get them to geometry. And that's an accelerated math track, but that's important to us as a STEM school. And I know I'm spending a lot of time talking about this, but it really is a core element of our school. So almost all of our students have ALEKS. ALEKS allows you to accelerate to pre-algebra, algebra, and geometry. ALEKS allows you to work at your own pace and move through the curriculum as fast as you're able to move through it. And so it's a great program, and we don't want our students to not math for a quarter. Okay, so all of our students should be working on ALEKS throughout the week, especially on Wednesdays, but I'd recommend 15 minutes a night. Treat it sort of like homework. All of our students should be working and continually progressing in their ALEKS account, especially when you don't have math on your schedule. So for second quarter, students that are moving into the track where they have language arts and social studies, those students especially should maintain their progress in ALEKS. So that's my ask. Here's my offer to go with it. I will do anything you need as parents at home to help you with this. We have students who are scheduling to come in the building. We had students here yesterday to come in and they can do their classes online right here on our internet with our support, and we provide snacks. We go for walks in the park. We can provide them that extra time and support in ALEKS. We have students who are coming in so they can work on their online classes on ALEKS. And so we'll do that. If your student needs to come in and spend some time with me and Mr. B is helping out and do ALEKS, we'll do that. If you have any trouble with them getting on ALEKS or any question, just call me. Just pick up the phone and call me directly. I don't mind that at all. And I will guide you through getting going on ALEKS. So that's our plug. We really want to keep our students moving forward with ALEKS because it's so essential that they keep building these math skills. And although I spent a lot of time on this, I would spend equal time and say the same about reading. I'm sure Ms. Kotelman and Mrs. Smith would concur. You don't have to have a special online program to be reading, but we want our students reading and writing and developing those literacy skills hand in hand as well. So if your students are on the math science track this quarter, keep them reading books. Ask your language arts teacher or Mrs. Beyond at your eye for reading suggestions. If you need books, we can provide books. Keep them building those literacy skills as well. Any questions or any thoughts on ALEKS out there? And today's Wednesday, so right now, hopefully we have 100 students out there clicking away on ALEKS. One of the features of ALEKS that for some reason kids skip or miss, or I always ask them if they know this feature, and I'm always surprised that they don't. Not the tests. ALEKS tests you at the end of each unit, but in the lessons, when you're working on the problems, ALEKS has a couple of features to teach you. And one of them is it says demonstrate or explanation. And you click on that. If you're on a problem and you don't know how to do it, you click on the explanation and it shows a detailed breakdown, a step-by-step breakdown on how to solve the problem. And the other thing ALEKS does is often on the right-hand side, there are little icons students can click on, and often there's a little icon of a. And so if you're trying to help a student who's stuck on a problem in ALEKS and they're not making progress, look for that little video icon. And if that's there, click on that because it opens a video, Khan Academy style, and a teacher explains how to solve the problem or how to do this math concept. They explain the math concept and walk you through it. So those are two features that I find students are often not aware of for some reason. And it's really important because when they get stuck, they need that teaching component. Oh, this is from last time, I think. All right. Any questions about ALEKS? Any other thoughts out there on ALEKS?
I actually have one question. With the ALEKS, because my child doesn't like to use a calculator. He does a lot of things in his own brain. Can it end up helping him actually work out the problem, actually do it written instead of always in his brain? Because I keep telling him he needs to actually do the problem, but he doesn't do it in written form. He always does it in his head.
Well, I have a couple thoughts on that. One is, sure, it is valuable to push students to work problems out step by step and to really kind of demonstrate that. I was never a big proponent in you have to show all your work for those students that have such a high acumen that they're able to solve those things in their head, because that's how things sort of work, in real life. There's some value to some of the time asking them to work the problem out. Another recommendation that gets missed that you should hear when you start ALEKS is ALEKS recommends every student, and this is great just for anything, ALEKS recommends every student have an ALEKS notebook. And so when I taught and used ALEKS, face to face, I would always hand students a notebook that had their name on the cover and said ALEKS. Very first page or inside the cover, write down their username and their password, because that's the stuff that I'll forget. But then that ALEKS notebook is a place for them to write out and demonstrate problems. So I would say a balance. If he's sharp enough where he's doing problems in his head, that means he's moving through that that content more quickly, and all he has to do is demonstrate mastery and keep moving. Yet it's okay to push him once in a while to slow down and show work. And especially when he gets hung up or tripped up, that's a great time to reinforce, take your time, write out your work. And Miss Yip has a thought on that. Yes, Miss Yip.
As a former math teacher for algebra and geometry, one of the reasons behind showing your work is that as things get more difficult, they can see their process. I know, and when I took a refresher course, we had to do all the steps in our algebra problems written out, because then we checked it with the answer book and we could find where our mistakes were. And so that there is a good, like you were saying, don't need to do it all the time, but being able to do it every once in a while helps it when your child hits that harder level.
That's what I keep telling him, but he just doesn't want to do it.
Well, and I understand that totally, because I had one of those who wouldn't even do it on a test because he said, they said show their work and I didn't want to. So I just took that one as a wrong answer. So I remember that. But just every once in a while, just to, write it down if he can, just so that he knows how to do it when it's asked of him.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking the question. Appreciate that. All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground so far, Mrs. Beyondich. We heard from Ms. Kotelman about conferences and student feedback, talked about all the upcoming important dates. We dabbled into talking about project-based learning. We heard a little bit from Mrs. Smith already, talked a lot about ALEKS. And so I did say ALEKS and iReady are very different. ALEKS is core curriculum. iReady is supplemental. It's important. I don't mean it's not important or you can set it aside because it's supplemental. iReady is designed to identify and fill gaps in our learning and any holes that might have developed not being in school since last March face-to-face. And so iReady really is designed to catch up, to fill those holes, to fill those gaps. And the assessment is designed to pinpoint and identify those gaps. And then it gives you lessons on those. So it's very different. It's not grade level based. It's not going to focus on, whereas if I'm in 6th grade and I'm in 6th grade math or I'm in pre-algebra, ALEKS is working through the Common Core standards and all of the skills of pre-algebra, right? And progressing through that course. iReady is not doing that. It's not concerned with what grade level you're on, what assignment, what standard you're working on. It's concerned with, we identified a skill gap. Doesn't matter what grade level that's at. It could be that you never learned to divide properly. And here are some lessons to fill that gap. So they're different programs. I would strongly suggest some time in both. So we're not asking for a lot of time. We're asking for a couple hours a week at the most, spread out, however you'd like to spread those out. Ms. Boners, is there anything else? So I've sort of decided, I took the lead on ALEKS because I've used the program for 10 years and I'm familiar with it. And I kind of set all that up anyway. And iReady's new. I asked Ms. Bonertz and she's taken the lead on iReady. On the staff and I actually have a training today from 1 to 3, an iReady training. But Ms. Bonertz, is there anything you would add or anything I didn't catch with talking about iReady?
I am really proud of a lot of our students that we've had a lot of students that have really taken on iReady and have been doing what we've been asking of them. And so I'm really proud of them. And I sent out a bunch of postcards, like I think 2 weeks, not last week, but the week before that, send out a bunch of postcards to those kids. And right now I'm running numbers for kids that have done nothing in iReady. And that number is a little bit bigger than we would like to see. So that iReady stuff is really, really important for our kids, even just 30 minutes a week, just to keep their math brains going, keep that reading comprehension up, because there are gaps in our school year right now. We have kids that aren't in ELA and we have kids that aren't in math. And so that's really, really important. And the kids have put in a lot of time just to get a score, and then to not do anything is just, so really encourage your students to be doing that. And I've updated my website as well. I've put some other things in there. I put a little link in there about suicide prevention, and so that way the kids have access to important numbers and things if they're ever concerned about themselves or others. And then I also added something in there for 8th graders to kind of start thinking about high school. So please check out my Canvas page, or encourage your students to check out their Canvas page, my Canvas page, especially if they're not feeling it. So I have lots of really good things in there for them to kind of get back on track. So yeah, thank you, Mr. McKelkey.
Sorry, it took me a second to get my mic back. Thank you, Ms. Bonertz. I'm clicking all over the place here. I'm sorry, folks. Let's see, Mrs. Smith, we bugged you a little bit earlier, but do you have anything you'd like to add about Canvas? Anything else that we need to know about Canvas?
I've had a few parents who've asked me, I'm a parent observer, but I'm still not understanding what I'm seeing. Teachers are still happy to help. Teachers are still happy to help you. There's an easy button for us to click that's like a grade tab, and then a report that is a PDF that I can send to parents, which is actually something that we couldn't do with Google Classroom. It's something we could not do with Q Student Connect. Just maybe I'll put them down. Anyway, we're happy to help, even though you might be a parent observer in your student's Canvas account. It's not hard.
Thank you. We appreciate it, and we're always happy to see the little guy. All right, Miss Gatlin, any updates that you'd like to share? Anything that you want to talk to our STrEAM community about?
I can, let's see, if you make me a special person, I can share my screen and I can talk about the PD that we did last week with our teachers.
Okay, you are now a co-host.
Special person, okay.
Good morning, Olive.
Good morning. Olive's here as well. Okay, wait, let's see here. Whew. All right, so last week on Friday, we had it was our 4th annual project-based learning professional development workshop. So we've done these every year, except for year 1. And so I'm just gonna give you a little sneak peek behind the curtains of what teachers do on PD days. So this one is all designed for teachers to work collaboratively to continue building our culture around project-based learning and project-based teaching practices, and then to give teachers lots of time to collaborate to work on those projects. So we had some goals for our time together, and this was all done via Zoom. And so we began by reflecting on how we collaborate with others and doing a little personality test that showed what our personality traits were in relationship to our colleagues' personality traits. There was another goal was to connect with our colleagues around the PBL work. There's a lot of collaboration being done between partners, but there's less I shouldn't say collaboration, but less opportunities for teachers to connect with the other teachers that aren't their partners. So we did a lot of breakout room activities where the teachers and other staff were able to connect with each other around PBL work and inspired by each other. We did a little activity where we generated some solutions to some of the common PBL challenges that are arising in the distant learning model. And then, as I said before, teachers had lots of time for planning and refining their projects. So we did, coming from a teaching background, I couldn't help but slip in lots of little teaching opportunities and lots of activities, modeling things that the teachers could take away with them to their classrooms to work with their kids. Here's our agenda for what the day looked like. not that we really need to get into the exact agenda, but basically there's a morning session and an afternoon session, lots of breakout rooms. In the morning, we had Miss Beyondich and Miss Bonertz and Miss Krecha and Miss Jessica Atkins also join us as well. So they got to sort of feel tied into the whole thing. And then they were excused for the afternoon to work on what their jobs are. And the teachers stuck around to continue working together. Norms of collaboration. This is something that we always bring up. And so we're also just reminding ourselves of the things that we have built into our culture, such as norms of collaboration and the elements of PBL. I'll skip down to that. So these were the elements that Mr. McKelkey was talking about before that are put out by the Buck Institute of Education, which is now also known as PBL Works. And so we have gone over these before in the past on morning coffee talk. Oops, I don't know where that went. Come back. And can you guys see that it says waiting for AC power connection on my screen? Can people see that? Okay, something's popping up. It's strange. I'll stop sharing my screen. So yeah, so that's what we did. I think it was overall a very successful workshop for teachers. And we did a survey at the end and there were lots of 4s and 5s. So to the very positive end on the scale of how we met our goals and how teachers felt about how their time was used wisely. So that's what I was going to share with you guys this morning. Any questions on that?
That's awesome. We appreciate you sharing, Ms. Gatlin, and it was a great professional development. And I'm really proud of where we're at and the leadership you take with our professional development and project-based learning. It's really cool.
Thanks.
So I was reflecting, we're in our 5th year as a program this year. And that has prompted a lot of, when I have the time and we're not in the middle of responding to pandemic madness, it's prompted a lot of reflection on the 5 years of our program. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is we have worked really hard to develop a culture of coaching and collaboration. And so Ms. Gatlin plays a role as a coach for all of our staff and a mirror for reflection and support that way. I have shared before that I've shifted my view of the principalship to a coaching first lens. And I'm at a place, in my 21st year in education, and most of that in administration, where I'm firmly in the place of I'm a coach first. I'm here to support our staff and help them to grow and help them empower them to succeed. Because this teaching and learning is all about students and kids, and everything else is ancillary. Everything else is support. Everything else is background noise that either helps or harms student learning. And so Ms. Gatlin and I work really hard to focus on, and Mrs. Beyondich as well, and our APC, those of us who are not teaching kids directly work really hard on supporting and empowering and growing our teachers. And I'm really, really, really proud of that culture at STrEAM. Megan plays a huge part in that. Megan's been here since the first year. She's one of our original teachers, our original founding staff, as is Ms. Kotelman. And to see where our professional development is. Our professional development is not the canned drive-by professional development you so often see in education. It's not an outside expert standing in front of our staff. We basically don't allow that, with very few exceptions, because our staff has gotten to a point where they won't tolerate that because it's not authentic and it's not worth their time. We have a consultant we work with who really, to be allowed to stand in front of our staff, was asked by Megan and I to embed herself in our school for a long time and get into the fabric of our program before ever standing in front and delivering any professional developments. Outside of that one consultant, all of our professional developments in-house. It's led by Ms. Gatlin. It's led by Ms. Kotelman. It's led by Ms. Bonertz. It's led by Mrs. Smith. And that's all actually true. Every one of those names I just said has led sections and courses and presentations and professional development. Ms. Kotelman has taken on a number of things that she's developed and worked really hard on and presented and shared and staff on. I mentioned Ms. Smith taking the lead on Canvas and teaching and leading our staff in Canvas. So just really proud of that. That's a cool aspect of our school. Our culture of coaching and collaboration is really strong, and we let our teachers teach each other. We let our staff lead. It's cool. Thank you, Ms. Gatlin. We appreciate you. You're pretty awesome.
Thank you.
What's coming up for morning coffee? We're going to cycle back to what we did first quarter. Mrs. Beyondich, are you wanting to talk about Operation Warm? You're sharing your screen. So I'll let Ms. Beyondich talk about Operation Warm in a second. So what's coming up? We're going to cycle back to what we did first quarter, where each cohort presents on a morning coffee date to share what's going on in their cohort, in their classes. And so so next week, if your children are moving to language arts and social studies, you will, I believe 6A and 6B are on ELA and social studies next quarter. Am I right? Yeah. So you'll have, so that would be Miss Gatlin and Miss Kotelman and Miss Gable. Then the following week, we'll have the half of 7th grade that's doing language arts and social studies. So that would be Mr. Perkins, Mr. Mosen. We'll have 8th grade on the 4th of November. On the 11th, we have no decided if we're doing morning coffee or not, because I'm waiting to see, it's district-wide professional development. I'm waiting to see what that is, and if I have obligations, and if I'm not tied to that, then we will have morning coffee because I'm working. So it just depends on if I'm in meetings or trainings or with our staff or with the district or not. And then the following week, the 18th, we'll have the other half of 6th grade. That would be Miss Staker and Miss Drager. So, and it's not on there, but then the next week would be the other half of 7th grade. So that's what we've got scheduled for morning coffee. We also are starting our STEM teachers, and anyone else who's interested. We like to do a little what are we reading and share books and try to bring those authors on, which is pretty cool. I'm kind of proud that we've had several authors join us on morning coffee and talk about their books. So we are reading this. It's super cool. I really recommend this. I haven't read the full thing yet. We're just getting started on it, but I've browsed through it and I knew enough about it to buy 5 copies. So this is called The Daily STEM by an author named Chris Woods, and it's a really cool book. And in fact, some of the STEM projects that he talks about doing, you can do at home just as easily as here at school. It's meant to sort of just kind of spark our imagination of our staff and inspire them a little bit. He talks about doing the Rube Goldberg machines, right, Miss Beyondich? And that's something Mr. Cleaver loved doing. If you knew Mr. Cleaver, one of our founders, science teacher, super creative guy. So we recommend you pick up a copy of The Daily STEM. And did I have a slide for that? And I just didn't show it, Miss Beyondich? Is that what you're telling me? Pick up a copy of The Daily STEM and read it with us. And tentatively, either Chris Woods, who has a podcast. I follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow on Twitter because he's always posting STEM stuff on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, search for him or look at my stuff. I've probably retweeted him recently. But he's a great follow on Twitter. He's got a podcast, Daily STEM podcast. So we recommend you pick this up. And parents, this is all stuff. You don't have to be a teacher or a science teacher or anything like that to pick this book up and do STEM stuff at home. It's very accessible. So that's what we're reading. That's what we recommend. Mrs. Beyondich, do you want to talk about the grant you wrote and that you were awarded? Mrs. Beyondich did this all on her own. I didn't help her with it. I didn't have anything to do with it. She asked if she could write this grant, and I said, go for it. And voila, we got it. Tell us about Operation Warm.
Sure. So it's a very, very, very simple rest. And so I just had to write a paragraph on why I thought, or it was a little bit more than a paragraph, on why I thought our school deserved to have some a coat for every student. And so Operation Warmth is, it's based on the East Coast. They have partners throughout the United States. The partner that's closest to us is Money Mart, and Money Mart awarded us, in conjunction with Operation Warmth, provided 160 coats for our students they're all here. They're in our basement. They're in our first floor. They're hung up. As your students are picking up supplies for next quarter, you can come on in and come downstairs and select a coat for your kid. To me, Sylvia, my kid wears a 14-16 and she wants a blue coat. I'll bring it upstairs to you if you don't want to come in. But there's a coat for every student here. And then, so we might have a few extra coats, and after our students all get a coat, as many students as want one, pick one up, then we will offer any of the additional coats to siblings. So just call us and let us know that you're on your way in, or sign in at the door and just come on downstairs. Remember that you have to follow the protocols for the building, wearing a mask at all times, and you're symptom free. Just sign in, come on down, and we'll get a coat checked out to your kiddo.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Bionich, for writing that grant and getting that for our school community. We're not going to be able to, like, we're going to have lots of extra coats, I think. So if you know someone, or, you know, if you have a STrEAM student, but there's another in your family that you know of that needs a coat, like, don't hesitate to ask us for an extra coat, because we are going to have plenty of them. And it's pretty cool that we get to give away coats, keep our kids warm. They're all hanging up out in the hallway right now, covering our coat racks in the hallway downstairs. So, and I do want to say a word, you know, that bridges me sort of to, and we're almost done with time today. I want to talk about having students in the building and doing face-to-face activities. So we are trying really hard to walk this balance of, you know, staying as safe as we possibly can during the pandemic. All of our teachers, of course, will stay virtual for classes for the rest of the quarter. It's a decision we made prior to the shift and, you know, the district changing things around a little bit. It's something we'll talk about more tonight. But once again, just like with first quarter, you know, I made the decision that I did not want our staff, our students, and our parents to worry about having to switch learning modes in the middle of a quarter. So we're not doing that. And of course, that sort of became a moot point when, you know, the district kind of had to pull back on their plans to reopen things because cases spiked so drastically. What we are doing with the district's permission, and the district has programs like this happening all over the district, actually, we are doing is allowing small, controlled face-to-face interaction in the building. So what that looks like is students who really need to work in the building. They really cannot function and work at home, or they just really need some additional support. Those students are signing up through Mrs. Bionich and I. We have a list, we have a sign up. We're making sure we don't have too many. So what it's looked like so far is we've had 2, 3, maybe at the most 4 students at a time come in the building, log on and do their class here and get additional support from us here. And then we also have teachers who are, and today, in fact, who are organizing outdoor learning options and activities for their classes. So Ms. Goodman and Ms. Smith, I'm really proud of them. They have pioneered this and in a very, very controlled and safe way, to where they have groups of 5 students, only 5 students meeting in the parking lot. They're not coming in the building at all. So it's entirely outdoors. Masks are 100% required at all times. Social distancing, 6 feet apart, required at all times, unless students identify that they are already in a family bubble. So we did have, if you saw pictures of students who weren't standing 6 feet apart the last time we did this, those are students who are in a bubble together already in their families, and they're doing learning pods at home. And so we didn't require those students' pairs to socially distance, but those pairs stayed 6 feet or more from each other. we're doing this in a really small, safe, careful, controlled way, with safety as the primary, the primary concern. And so it's, I wanted to share a little more information on that. It's definitely not something we're doing lightly. We require hand washing every time you walk into a room, regardless of how many times or who it is. It's worked really well. We're going to continue to do this in a very small, controlled way and do it really safely, as long as we're able to. Ms. Bionich, do you have anything to add to that?
We have an unbelievably amazing protocol in place for making sure that the rooms are clean also. And so I just want everyone to know that I, as an older adult who's overweight and who has asthma, I feel very tingling. And I feel that we're doing a lot to make sure that our teachers and that our staff and that all of our stakeholders are very safe. So if a student needs a day to focus, because it's hard to learn from your bed or it's hard to learn from your dining room table, and you want them to come in and just be in a different learning space, or if they need additional help, I want you to know that we are very open to having them come in a very safe and controlled way.
That's a great way to put it. Thank you, Mrs. Bionich. And we continue to reassess this. I continue to run this by the charter school supervisor at ASD repeatedly, and we've actually communicated some of our plans and some of the things that we're doing. We've communicated those as high up as to the superintendent. Superintendent is aware of. Of course, there are, like I said, there are other programs in the district that are doing this, that are small group tutoring. Across elementary schools, they're starting to open up to doing similar things to us, to very small group tutoring sessions. Because the balance here is so difficult. But the balance here is we want our staff and the majority, our school community, our students to feel safe. And right now that means virtual teaching. Right. And so we want our staff to be able to teach virtually, whether it's from here or from home. We want our families to feel safe and not feel like they have to come into the building. And so we're doing that. We're keeping that. Yet the other side of that balance is we have students that are crying out for help, that are missing the services and supports that are provided by the school. They're missing that, whatever needs and supports that we provide, they really need that. Some of them just need a place to work in this for a day. Some of them, are really still struggling with, internet and device issues and technology issues, and having a quiet place to work or a safe place to work. And some students just need that additional support and tutoring and boost. And so we're trying to balance those two things. And it's so far, we're happy with what we're able to do. All right, that's all I have for morning coffee today. Is there anything for the good of the order? Join us tonight at 5:30 for the APC meeting. I want to thank Mrs. Yip, our APC chair, and Ms. Mickelson, APC member, for joining us and sharing today. I want to thank our staff that were able to hop on. Ms. Kotelman, thank you for sharing. And Ms. Gatlin, Mrs. Smith, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything for the good of the order? Any questions that parents have out there? Now would be a great to throw those at us.
I don't have a question, but I just want to do a shout out that I am just so pleased with how your entire staff is going over and beyond and just putting the efforts and the concerns and the, I'm just really thankful that we're part of this school, because I couldn't be any more pleased for, what's happening at STrEAM. So we're sad, of course, that we can't be there in person, but we're really super happy with everything that's going on, and we just really appreciate everybody's efforts. So
thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to hear. It's good to hear some feedback, and we really appreciate that.
So this Friday is Bosses Day, and I just want everyone to know out there in YouTube land and on Zoom, I have the best boss. So, and it's also Principals Month. and Principals Month, Principal Mokelke.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know why principals need a whole month. I'm good with a day. Okay, you could say Happy Principals Day or something. But a whole month seems like a little much to me.
All right. Well, then I'll be nice to you just on one day of the year.
Yeah, just be nice. Just be nice to me for a day. That's all I need. Oh, thank you, Ms. Bionich. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Any other parents have questions or want to chime in? All right. I will begin to shut us down by ending the